We've got another twist and a couple more turns in the Matthew Stafford trade rumors. Tom Brady reportedly met with Matthew Stafford in Montana to recruit him to the Raiders. This Stafford to the Raiders rumor appears to have legs. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel. Join the party, over 16,000 subs. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Also, I want all your comments down below. Do you think that Matthew Stafford is going to be traded to the Raiders? My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. Today I'm flying solo. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rodgers, will be back tomorrow. But we have a big-time, juicy show to get into because the Matthew Stafford offseason trade rumors just continue to take twists and turns. And all of a sudden, Ramley, the biggest story in the National Football League is about your quarterback, Matthew Stafford. And the latest is that Tom Brady, the minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and he is involved in the decision-making for the franchise. He was involved in the decision to hire Pete Carroll, the direction of the franchise. Well, according to Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports, Tom Brady recently hosted Matthew Stafford at his home in Montana and took him skiing. Schultz is reporting that Brady has been, quote, actively trying to convince Stafford to join the Raiders and that there are continuing to have conversations about a possible trade and a new contract. The Raiders are, quote, believed to be the most aggressive suitor for Matthew Stafford at the moment. And after that broke, a lot of people were speculating that we could see a deal next couple of days, maybe in the next week, that the Raiders, the team that hired Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator, and they want to win now, that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Well, let's start with this Tom Brady rumor. Did Tom Brady actually host him at his house? Did they actually go skiing? Well, we've gotten to the point where, yes, this is silly season. Yes, this is lying season in the National Football League. Well, we got to the point where you have credible, big-time NFL insiders at odds with each other, essentially arguing over social media, and they have conflicting reports because Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, he says that Matthew Stafford was in Montana, but there was no formal meeting and that they just ran into each other, and the meeting was, quote, not extensive or in-depth, and that Tom Brady did not host Matthew Stafford at his home. So those are very, very different reports from two NFL insiders. Yes, I think that the one with more credibility is Ian Rappaport, but Jordan Schultz is someone that has done a lot of credible reporting in the past. He's a big NFL insider in his own right. But look, we do know that whether or not they went skiing, whether or not it was a casual run-in, that the most important thing here is that the Raiders are seriously interested. And based on what I heard, just talking to people, is that, yes, these rumors have real legs. And what I was told was that if Matthew Stafford is going to get traded, that it will be to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Giants don't make a ton of sense for him. Steelers, other teams that maybe he's been linked to don't make a ton of sense. The Las Vegas Raiders, if he's going to change teams at age 37, the Las Vegas Raiders are a team that appeals to him for a couple different reasons. One, they have almost $100 million in cap space, so they have the flexibility to go out there and make some moves. You do have some existing talent, right? Max Crosby, one of the best players in the league on the defensive side of the football. And then you got Pete Carroll. I mean, think about it this way. Pete Carroll in his 70s, he didn't come back to rebuild. He didn't come back to go through a lengthy rebuild. He wants to win now. On top of that, you got new offensive coordinator Chip Kelly, who's coming off of a national championship run as a coordinator with Ohio State. So his stock has gone up, and they make him the highest paid coordinator in the sport. So you got the vision of Chip Kelly. I mean, his head coaching experience. I mean, after Oregon, did not succeed with the Eagles, didn't succeed with 49ers, definitely didn't succeed with UCLA. It was a major bomb for the Bruins, but as an offensive coordinator in mind, it makes sense. And then you consider the fact that he's played in 2 home stadiums in his career, and it's SoFi Stadium indoors, and it's Ford Field indoors. Same thing with Las Vegas. It is a controlled environment, indoors, field turf, so you control from that standpoint, and a location standpoint too. You're still on the western side of the country. It's not like you're going to the opposite side of the country in New York, Las Vegas, LA. I mean, you can honestly keep your home in Los Angeles and go to Las Vegas. So, look, the Tom Brady factor is real too. Tom Brady is the GOAT for a reason. And if Tom Brady's message to Matthew Stafford is, hey, you're 37, yeah, a lot of guys, they don't have success in their late 30s and early 40s. I did. I can give you some of these pointers. I can give you the book. I can give you the way to do it. So I think that certainly has to be a factor as well. And I think that the other thing that I was told is that, yes, the Rams want him back. They do. They feel like Matthew Stafford gives them the best chance to compete for a Super Bowl in 2025, but they are far apart on a contract. And Matthew Stafford doesn't want to be the highest paid quarterback in the league, but he definitely wants to get a fair market value for what he feels that he is worth. And the Rams are kind of where they're at, and they don't necessarily want to get to the contract that he's at asking for at the moment. So the Rams aren't going to be desperate for Matthew Stafford, at least as of right now. And the Raiders are a team that is looking to change the course of their franchise. I mean, it's been a long time since the Raiders have had success, a lot of disappointing seasons for them. You haven't had that franchise quarterback that's led you deep into the playoffs, and Stafford could certainly be that guy with the right weapons around him. So, yeah, if I had to bet on it right now, like today, I mean, it's leaning towards a Matthew Stafford trade. It is. That's just the word in the industry. That could change. And the Rams could really make it known that, okay, we want you back. And Matthew Stafford could realize, hey, I want to wear the golden jacket. Sean McVay, much better coach in 2025 than Pete Carroll. The Rams, a much more stable organization than the Raiders in 2025, right? So I think if you're Matthew Stafford, you have to make the choice. I mean, money, you've made almost $400 million at this point in your career. Is it really going to come down to money, or do you think that it's a leverage play and you really want to be back with the Rams? I always kind of think of, hey, remember Kobe Bryant, Los Angeles Laker legend, another LA sports icon. He was very close to being traded to the Chicago Bulls. He doesn't get traded. He stays to the Lakers. It looked like things were going to work out. Very different situation, but what ends up happening, you end up finding Andrew Bynum plays well, then you trade for Pau Gasol, you make it to the finals, you lose to the Celtics, then the following season you win a championship. So it wouldn't be the first time that a player for a franchise appeared to be nearly traded, and then at the 11th hour, they find a way with the current team. But I think the way things are looking right now, the Rams realize that at some point, you have to find that next quarterback. And coming up next, we're going to talk about who that next quarterback could be, and we'll talk some more Matthew Stafford. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also want to send a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. We really appreciate that you join that Everyday Listeners Club, guys. We're getting back to the normal schedule, Monday through Friday episodes every single day of the week. We're going to have a lot of exclusive content. We're doing interviews this offseason, so be on the lookout for that. And just going to be jam-packed. I mean, Matthew Stafford's the biggest story in the NFL right now, but you also have free agency, you got the draft coming up. Hey, the Rams. There's no shortage of storylines for this team. So if you want to lock on and make sure you don't miss a thing, be sure to subscribe and listen to the podcast as well. But here in our second segment, we're going to pick up where we left off with Matthew Stafford. Now, a couple things I just want to talk about when it comes to Stafford is, look, I understand, you want to get your value. I mean, he's someone that should be paid more than guys like Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray and those guys. I mean, he's certainly a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the National Football League. There's no doubt about that. But on this. Having said that, I mean, he signed the deal that he signed, right? 4 years, $160 million extension at $135 million, where the guarantees were only at $63 million. When it was fully guaranteed, you had the $135 in guarantees and fully guaranteed at $63 million. But at the time, I mean, you're coming off a Super Bowl championship. You're coming off a run where you were, yes, Cooper Kupp was incredible. He was Super Bowl MVP, but he's the biggest reason why the Rams won that Super Bowl was because of Matthew Stafford. You don't win it without him. And look, at the time, Aaron Rodgers, he just reset the market for quarterbacks. He signed a deal that made him the NFL's first quarterback to earn $50 million per year in a season, first player in the National Football League. And that contract was huge, $150.8 million over 3 seasons. Stafford, him and his agent should already be at $50 million. They could have done that a couple of seasons ago. I mean, they could have signed a 4-year, $200+ million deal, averaging over $50 million per season. You could have worked in the guarantees in there that you needed to. Could have got a full trade clause in there as well. But now we're at the position where we're at with Stafford, where he's not happy about his deal. And look, at the end of the day, he's going to have to choose. Is it money, a new situation? Is it what's important to him? What's important to him? Does he view the Rams roster as one that is not equipped to win a Super Bowl? I mean, they're 14 yards away from the NFC Championship game at home against a rookie quarterback. Does he think that there's too much youth on this team? Does he like the fact that the Raiders have more cap space? I mean, all those things are possible. Does he just want a fresh start? Does he want that third act? I mean, Las Vegas, right? That's the town that Elvis and all these stars go, Mariah Carey and Jennifer Lopez, all these stars, when their careers towards the latter stages of it, you go to Vegas, right? It's where you go. You go to Vegas and you do all your tour dates there, and then you just stay into your Vegas residency. Maybe this is Matthew Stafford's Vegas residency. Maybe this is where he just wants to end his career in the silver and black. Not a terrible situation, but hey, if Matthew Stafford was watching this, I would tell you, there's no way. I don't care if it. Look, Tom Brady. I mean, look, how was Michael Jordan as a GM, right? I mean, Tom Brady does not even have that advanced of a role, but I mean, Tom Brady is still new to this as well, right? He does not know about a roster build, and Pete Carroll, last couple years in Seattle weren't great, and who knows if he's kind of past his time in the National Football League. The Raiders with Mark Davis just have not had a lot of success. Versus Kroenke has got the unlimited funds. He's got the black cards, right? This is the organization that will spare no expense to win a championship, right? So, I mean, I think from a stability standpoint, a situation standpoint, I still feel like the Rams give him the best chance to win. But if you are the Rams in this situation, this could be a situation where you allow it to play itself out, where, yes, you're allowing the league to do this. I mean, the league's already said that they had no issue with Tom Brady meeting with Matthew Stafford, and the Rams allowed his agent, Jimmy Sexton, to meet with other teams to discuss what a contract could look like. And that way, if they do decide to trade him, you would have the skeleton of a deal to get a deal done and get a trade. And if you're the Rams, you're not going to get a lot in exchange, right? I mean, you're not going to get a first-round pick. I mean, a conditional first-round pick is possible in the future, but more likely a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick, things like that. But what you are getting in this is, if Matthew Stafford goes to the Raiders and you start to see him kind of fall off that cliff, you start to see the decline. It happens very fast. And as much as I love Matthew Stafford as a quarterback, I truly do. Look, Father of Time is undefeated. And for the most part throughout his career, every time Father of Time has approached Matthew Stafford, he's hit it with a haymaker in the throat, right? Every time the Father of Time comes around, Stafford punches it in the face and it goes away for a while. But it could happen the next couple of seasons. And if it does, this Rams roster is a young roster that has a lot of talent that's developing on it. So it would not be the worst thing in the world for the Rams to use this as an opportunity to get to the next era. Because if you give Matthew Stafford the big deal, I still want, let me just make this clear. I still think the Rams' best move is to have him back. I do. But if it does happen, I think that the silver lining to all that is, at some point you have to get to that next era of Rams football and find that next quarterback. And there's not a lot of organizations out there that can bring in an Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron Rodgers is not going to like the Titans, right? He's not going to a small market club, right? Because of Sean McVay, because of being in LA, you could get someone like Aaron Rodgers, who is not the bad quarterback that people make him out to be. You know, bring my facts to the fight. Look at his numbers last season. 3,897 yards. That was 8th in the National Football League. 28 touchdowns, tied for 7th. 192 first downs, 8th. 51 passes of 20-plus yards, 8th. 11 interceptions. That was 4th fewest among quarterbacks with 28 or more touchdowns. He's not a bad quarterback, and he was playing for the Jets. So who knows? If you get Aaron Rodgers and you get Devontae Adams with that, plus Puka Nacua, plus the defense, plus a free agency and a draft to add talent, hey, I don't know how your opinion is of Aaron Rodgers. We have to stop all the nonsense, and they would have a conversation about that. And I think that you would see a different version of Aaron Rodgers on the Rams. I think he'd be a little more buttoned up, and you wouldn't see him as out there as we've seen him in the last couple of seasons. Could put the Rams in a good situation, because then you're not desperate for your quarterback of the future. You can use these draft picks to find a 2026 quarterback. Arch Manning. I mean, you got those quarterbacks that are just better. I mean, this current draft is Doris Sanders and Cam Ward. Yes, talented guys, but this is not the draft to find your franchise quarterback. At least if your hit rate, if you want to hit on them, it's especially when the Rams are choosing. So, look, at this point, you kind of have to respect Matthew Stafford's decision, whatever it may be, but you got to trust the organization. Like I said, I trust Sean McVay and Les Snead more than I love Matthew Stafford at this stage of his career. I really do. And if he wants to get $150 million from the Rams or that's it, which by all accounts and even things I'm hearing is pretty much where they're at with that. He wants $50 million a year. Then it could be difficult to see a new contract materializing, and the Rams could be using this as a way to kind of get to the future of their organization. But coming up next, speaking of trades, the Rams have given permission to Jonah Jackson to pursue a trade. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, speaking of trades, the Rams have given Jonah Jackson permission to seek a trade and explore options with other teams. So last year, the Rams' big offseason free agent signing was offensive lineman Jonah Jackson. They signed him to a $51 million contract. He dealt with shoulder injuries all season long, and even when he was healthy, wasn't very effective. He was replaced by rookie Bo Limmer, and that was a strong indication that his future was bleak for this Rams organization. Anytime you're replaced by a 6th-round pick, you know that you're falling out of favor with Sean McVay and the organization. So as far as how this would impact the salary cap and where the Rams are at, well, as far as cap hit goes, the cap hit would go from $14.67 million to $11.33 million, a dead cap charge. That would save the Rams $3.33 million in 2025. And then that $11.33 million in dead money. It's not great. It's definitely not awesome, but they're just trying to save anything for a guy they don't think is going to be a part of their future. So would you really want to drop $14.67 million, almost 15 M's for a offensive lineman that's going to ride the pine for you, that's going to sit on El Bencho? No, you don't want to do that. So if the Rams did wait until after 2025, they could save $17 million. They could cut him in 2026. But like I said, they don't want him just taking up space. They need to fill that roster spot and get a guy that's going to contribute. We saw something similar with Allen Robinson after 1 year. It didn't work out. You're not going to expect a lot in return. For Robinson, you got a 7th-round pick. For Jackson, you'll get a better pick than that, a day 2 pick, something in that range. But, yeah, unfortunately, the Rams just didn't have a lot of success in free agency last offseason. You just didn't. I mean, Jonah Jackson, Colby Parkinson, Trey White, a lot of these guys didn't work, but that's why I really feel like, hey, man, one of these years, I mean, you're going to hit on some of these guys, and paired with the strong drafts, and the talent that already exists, you're ready to go. So that's where they're at with Jonah Jackson. Be ready for anything Matthew Stafford related. I know it's mind-numbing. I know it's exhausting at this point, but the truth is we keep doing podcasts about it. We keep doing videos about it just because more information comes out about it. And there's a lot of twists and turns. And look, I've been talking to a lot of people as well, even talking to Jordan Schultz about it as well. I mean, this thing is very real. So, I mean, you just, you have to wait and see. You have to wait and see. And, I mean, look, I don't think it's a guarantee at this point, but, I mean, Matthew Stafford Rams jerseys could be 70% off on Fanatics at some point in the near future if things continue to head to this direction. He's on a new team. But that's new for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.